So at this time, let's welcome our president, Art Easterling.
Okay, we'll see. Oh, that works good. Right. I probably didn't need it anyway, but just in case. I want to thank you for the opportunity to join the Indiana Alliance because you are one of our most important and long-standing state chapters. For the members of the Indiana Alliance, I thank you for all you've done. We're fortunate to have so many politically savvy seniors here. And of course, one of those seniors is your president, Elmer Blankenship. And Elmer, I thank you for your steadfast leadership and for all that you do. Elmer and I have worked together in the labor movement for many years, and he just continues to be a pleasure to work with. And the ARA staff in Washington do send you their love. They love working with him. Anything we need, he's the first one to step up to take care of it for us. You've been the only president that the Indiana Alliance has known, and before that, you were with the National Council of Senior Citizens. But to top it all off, you get us some of the great press and the great clips. I know some of you who are here today were able to join us at our national convention in Las Vegas. We had a wonderful convention out west, although I was ill and not there. But we did get some good feedback. People seem to get an awful lot out of the action sessions, and I know that the explanation of the threats posed by the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, taught us all a thing or two about what the opposition is up to. Their assault on public pensions is scary indeed. Today I want to discuss the latest on Social Security and Medicare and what the Alliance is doing to protect current and future retirees at the national level. As many of you know, the Alliance scored a great victory earlier this year. We are thrilled that President Obama heard Alliance members from across the country and removed the changed CPI cut to Social Security and other programs from the 2015 budget. The Alliance made eliminating the changed CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, our top priority of the past year. We held dozens of human chain events with thousands of Alliance members all across the country, and I'm elated to say that they paid off. The changed CPI proposal would have reduced Social Security benefits by changing how the government calculates the rate of inflation and lowering the cost of living adjustment. If you retire today at age 65, the changed CPI would have lowered your Social Security benefits by $6,000 over 15 years. The average Social Security check is not much more than $1,000 per month. And for many retirees, this is their only source of income. And I just can't imagine how they could get by on anything less. The cost of living adjustment is meant to help us keep up with inflation. But this is harder for seniors than for people of other ages, and it's because we spend a far greater percentage of our income on health care than younger people do. For other purchases, you can find a lower price substitute, but for health care, that's a lot harder to do. You can't simply switch to a double bypass when the doctor says you need a triple. Fortunately, our voices were heard, and we applaud the president for doing the right thing, listening and keeping this unjust cut out of his budget. Cuts to Social Security's earned benefits would indeed only serve to increase income equality and hurt the most vulnerable members of our society. Now we can focus on the real task at hand, articulated very well by senators like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, which is to expand Social Security so that it fits the retirement security needs of today. The Strengthening Social Security Act of 2013, Senate Bill 567, was introduced by Tom Harkin in the Senate and would do just that. Representative Linda Sanchez of California has introduced House Resolution 3118, which is a companion bill in the House. This legislation would increase annual Social Security benefits by an average of $800. It also ensures that Social Security Trust Fund remains solvent for years to come, protecting all of our benefits. Indeed, instead of a cold calculated benefit cut like the changed CPI, the Strengthening Social Security Act would actually increase annual Social Security benefits by an average of $800 per year. Fortunately, the politicians in Washington are taking the call to strengthen and expand Social Security seriously. We know that because there is also other legislation with similar goals. On June 11th, Senator Mark Begg of Alaska and Patty Murray of Washington State introduced the Retirement and Income Security Enhancements or RAISE Act. The RAISE Act would enhance Social Security benefits for widows, widowers, and divorced spouses while extending benefit eligibility for children of retired, disabled, and deceased workers. And at a time when the retirement income deficit is $6.6 trillion, the American people are calling for strengthening, not cutting, Social Security, and that call is being heard. Of course, we're going to continue to face challenges in this fight. Bad things are still in front of us. A lot of misguided politicians still want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And something else that we've been hearing about is raising the retirement age. Last month, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida insulted the American people by proposing that we raise the retirement age, that two of our most successful benefit programs, Social Security and Medicare, be dismantled. Rubio's plans to raise the retirement age and to privatize Social Security and Medicare would increase wealth inequality, transferring the only guarantees that most Americans have for a secure retirement to Wall Street bankers and insurance companies. There are politicians who want to raise the retirement age all the way up to 70. Can you imagine working until you're 70? This makes you realize just how out of touch some people are. Working until 70 may be okay if you're a politician or a CEO, but for people that are in physically demanding jobs, it'd be a very different story. A postal worker on the job until 70, a coal miner in the mines at 70, an iron worker on a beam 7 or 8 stories above the street, or a 70-year-old nurse lifting a patient. It just isn't possible. When people talk about raising the retirement age, they say it's because we're now living longer. But the truth is that the increases in life expectancy have almost exclusively been for the highest wage earners in the country, the ones with the least physically demanding jobs. The life expectancy has barely changed for workers with lower income and education levels. And if raising the retirement age isn't enough, some people want to keep seniors from knowing what their benefits are by closing Social Security Administration offices throughout the country. Americans came together to create the Social Security system, providing us with a basic, reliable foundation for retirement and disability. Closing field offices and making it more difficult to access benefits information is an attempt to dismantle that foundation, and it's time to stop it. So let's look at where we are. Unfortunately, the Tea Party continues to have a troubling influence on our political debate. We can't let them win. If we remain silent, then this angry mob will only continue to grow and make things like the Paul Ryan budget a sad reality. Yes, the Ryan budget, it just never seems to go away. It's like a bad horror movie. In April, the U.S. House passed the most recent version of the Ryan budget, and it would slash Medicare and Medicaid by hundreds of billions of dollars. Sound familiar? It would also cause seniors out-of-pocket health care expenses to skyrocket. It would leave a typical retiree with far less of his or her monthly Social Security check to meet other living expenses. For a senior living on the average monthly benefit, the amount left for non-medical needs would be slashed from about $900 a month to less than $600. Not satisfied with just destroying Medicare, Chairman Ryan is also attacking Social Security, saying that the Social Security Trust Fund is not a real savings account. The budget passed by the House after being released, appropriately enough on April Fool's Day, can be viewed as a measure of the priorities and the values of the majority that voted for it. It tells seniors they don't matter nearly as much as the wealthy people and the corporations who would simultaneously receive sweetheart tax breaks. We in this room would like to think that the House vote was enough to show the public what would happen if the Ryan budget were to be passed by the U.S. Senate, that seniors would pay dearly. Fortunately, the U.S. Senate, led by Majority Leader Harry Reid, has no plans to take the Ryan budget any further toward becoming the law of the land. But what if Democrats were to lose the U.S. Senate in November? Then what? We must remain vigilant against the Paul Ryan budget in order to keep the promise of Medicare alive. Because of the Ryan budget, because the Ryan budget looks out for the big drug companies and their record profits, not us. And that is where you all come in. My fellow Alliance members, we are just months away from elections, which will shape our future. Will they set the stage for us to expand upon our success, to make greater progress toward social and economic justice? Americans pay the highest drug prices in the world. So where does all that money go? None of us were born yesterday, so I think we have a pretty good idea who gets rich every time we get sick. But listen to these paychecks. In 2012, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson made $40 million. The head of Pfizer, $25 million. And the CEO of Eli Lilly was the poor kid on the block having to scrape by on just $14 million that year. That guy must be clipping coupons. Over the last decade, the 11 major pharmaceutical companies made a combined $711 billion in profits. And when you think about all the people out there that are struggling to afford their prescriptions, this is absolutely disgusting. So instead of targeting our Medicare for cuts, why don't we close some of the loopholes in corporate welfare that these companies get every year in Washington? For example, Medicare is specifically prohibited from negotiating volume discounts from the big drug companies. This was written into the 2003 drug law. Can you believe that? Every savvy consumer knows that you save money when you buy in bulk. And that's why places like Costco are packed every day. If we ended the sweetheart deal that the drug lobbyists put into that law, we would save $141 billion over 10 years. And this is what the Alliance is trying to do. All of which makes the elections later this year a very important time for us. These issues that bring us together affect every generation in a family. When someone has a health or a financial problem, it impacts everyone. And today's workers who are struggling to get by need to have the hope and the faith that programs they're paying for in every paycheck, Social Security and Medicare, will be there for them when they retire. So what should we do? To me, we need to clear up all the misinformation that is being aimed at seniors. Right-wing politicians, the media, the big corporations, they're all trying to scare us. And whether they are phony warnings about Medicare and Social Security going bankrupt, or the outright lies about public workers and their retirement benefits, it just never ends. Paul Krugman wrote recently in the New York Times about the multitude of false stories propagated by opponents of health care reform in an effort to make their case. As election season approaches, the Affordable Care Act will again be a major topic of conversation and political ads. Several U.S. senators have launched a coordinated effort in Congress to highlight the positive effects of the health care law is having on millions of low and middle income Americans. Over the past 4 years, the law has provided health insurance coverage and new benefits to millions, reduced their overall cost of care, and reduced federal health spending. More than 8 million Americans have signed up for health insurance since 2010. Republicans in Congress have worked to sabotage the health care law by attempting to block implementation and denying funding for critical provisions of that law. So how can we do better? How can we educate and mobilize more seniors in support of elected officials who are on our side? And how can we combat all this misinformation and allow health care reform to move forward? We must do everything we can to clear up the lies that people hear every time they turn on their TV, radio, or computer. We must push our boundaries, push our comfort zone, and reach out to new people and places. In addition, I believe that doing more with online communication tools such as email, Facebook, and YouTube will help us to reach new people. Everything we fight for, from state and local legislation to Social Security and Medicare, is all part of a larger fight for justice and fairness. Yes, we're senior advocates, and many of us are labor advocates. We are much more than that. We are parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, and neighbors. We are united by our shared commitment to fairness, justice, and opportunity. So through good days and bad, we keep up the fight because of how much we care about our children, grandchildren, and all those generations that will follow us. For retirees like us, our working days may be over, but our fighting spirit burns stronger than ever. Thank you.